All right, what up, what up, what up, what up? You already know what it is. It's your boy B-Phil, and we back again. You already know what to do. We're going to learn something new. So what we're going to do today is try and implement this kind of, I'd say, customer qualifying system. It's going to be very bare bones. So for small and medium business owners, this might be something useful, and I could potentially be packaging this up into some type of Zapier or Make package for you to easily implement. But what I want to really do today is test how long it takes to build something very simple out in Langchain first, and then LlamaIndex second. So we're going to try and do this in one take. Let's go ahead and get it. All right, so just to get an idea of what we're doing, this is my website, right? bphil.tech. You can go there, check out whatever I got there for you. Wink, wink. And what we're going to do is we're going to take some particular customer information. First, this is going to be some mock. Maybe Brandon loves cats and parrots, and maybe your store is the e-commerce store selling dog toys. We're going to send that through Langchain or LlamaIndex to go ahead and categorize utilizing one of these three LLMs. We're going to go with Bedrock today just because I think that's pretty neat to use. It's AWS. I love AWS. And then finally, it's going to go ahead and categorize this particular person in three categories, which we'll come up with along the way. So without further ado, let's go ahead and turn on my timer. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to time it just to see how fast I can do it in Langchain with utilizing documentation along the way if needed. So I'll be bringing those up as well. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Boom. Go ahead and minimize that. So we're in our coding environment. We're going to go ahead and do start.py, and we're going to go ahead and install some initialize our virtual environment. So we're going to say customer vim. We're going to go ahead and initialize this environment. So bin activate. We're going to go ahead and install Langchain. All right. This probably should have been taken off the actual timer here, but it's okay. We're going to pre-install LlamaIndex ahead of time, just so we have it ready. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get our environment variable. And what I'm going to do, slightly off screen, so you see here, I'm going to go ahead and AWS SSO login just to make sure that I already have my credentials refreshed. And so what you're going to need, if you're following along on this timer, you're going to go ahead and need your credentials for AWS here. And what I'm going to do is use SSO. So I'm going to go ahead and go here. I'm going to bring up my login here. I'm going to hit allow. And as you can see, request approved. We're good to go. All right, fantastic. Let's go ahead and continue on. So now we have this here. So let's go ahead and bring in our LLM. So actually we need a pip install. I think it's Langchain AWS. Yeah. So we're going to say from Langchain AWS import, I think it's Bedrock chat. And for whatever reason, again, my code editor isn't taking very well. So I'm going to come back here. What are we at on time? All this talking, 2 minutes of talking is crazy, right? So I'm just trying to get these highlights here just to make sure it imports correctly. My environment sometimes screws itself up. So it looks like my recording might be taking more memory than usual. So we're going to say LLM equals Bedrock chat, and we're going to say model ID, and I think it's going to be Anthropic.Claude Haiku, and it's 2024-0307. I think it's V01. Let's go ahead and validate this really quickly. I'm going to go ahead and bring this over here. AWS Bedrock model IDs. Claude Haiku. So Anthropic Claude 3 Haiku. I was off a little bit, but we'll just go ahead and copy paste that. And we should be good to go. So we actually need to pip install python.env. And I believe this is already going to be loaded from the environment. So let's go llm.invoke to test it. What is py? Whoa. Oh, wow. I'm writing that all in my M file. That's why it's not giving me highlights. All right, let's run this. We're going to install this next little package here. While we're doing that, let's come up with the company. So e-commerce company that sells, let's say, chew toys for newborn dogs. And we want to qualify this person on that. So we got a message back. Great. Looks like everything is working as expected. So now what we want to do is we want to bring in a prompt template. So we say from Langchain core.prompts. We're going to import the prompt template. And let's go ahead and give it a template. So we'll say prompt template equals, and we're going to say template equals classify the customer. Well, let's not do instructions. So classify the customer based on the given classification options. Classification option, customer, detail, and industry. So we should probably put that particular information first. So we'll say customer, detail, and we'll do 2 new lines. We'll say industry, business industry. All right, we'll do 2 new lines, and then we'll have these instructions here. So well, actually we need to give the classifications. Classifications, new line, whoops. Great. Now we have that template, and we want to go ahead and say input variables, and this is going to be a list, and we're going to say customer detail, then we're going to say business industry, and last classifications. And that's it for our prompt template. So we're going to go ahead and format this. So we'll say prompt equals, it looks like I have something incorrect here. I don't have a comma after this. So we're going to say prompt template format, and we'll say customer. Let's go ahead and define these actually ahead of time. Customer detail equals Brandon is an avid cat lover because they're super intelligent. He also is very fond of parrots. He does like dogs, but isn't keen on raising them. He would do it, but doesn't prefer it. So maybe we had a survey where Brandon clicked some things, and then he added a short description. Maybe we ran some inference to summarize all of that. That might be overly engineered, I know, but maybe that's what happened. We'll run with that. So let's go business industry, and let's say e-commerce company that sells chew toys for newborn dogs. And then we're going to say classifications, and we're going to have a list here. Great customer, candidate, mid candidate, and worst candidate. Great. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to go ahead and fill in these variables. So we'll say customer detail equals customer detail, and then business industry equals, of course, business, and then classifications equals, we'll cast this to a string and say classifications. And finally, we'll go ahead and invoke this and see what we get. So let's go ahead and put in this prompt and we'll run it. All right, we don't have Langchain core. Is it Langchain _core? All right, I think we're cooking with gas, y'all. Let's see what we get. All right, based on the given customer details and the e-commerce company sells 2 toys, the customer profile is classified as worst candidate. Wow. Brandon is an avid cat lover, but he doesn't raising dogs, though he does like them. This indicates he is not primarily interested in products for dogs, as his preference lies more with cats. Okay, great. So we're good to go there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do some output parsing. So we want to get this in a particular output to send structured to some backend destination. So we're going to say from Langchain, and we're going to say core, I believe it is, dot output parsers, and we're going to import a pydantic output parser, and then we're going to say from Langchain core dot pydantic v1, and we're going to import a base model. All this is going to do is allow us to define some type of class to output into. This is going to be some structured JSON schema that we're going to send the model. So we'll say class classifications, or classification, make this a base model, and then from here we'll say classification, and this is just going to be a string, right? And then we'll set this equal to a field. All we're doing is saying that pass this string into the field, and then we're going to give this a description: classification of the customer based on given classification options. All right, great. And then we're going to say explanation, so we can track why it made that decision. Next, we're going to go ahead and create an output parser, and we'll say pydantic output parser, and we'll say we want a pydantic object of classification. And then from here, what we want to do is we want to add in some formatting. So we're going to go ahead and 2 new lines, and we're going to say format instructions. And then we're going to go ahead and pass in a partial variable. And in this partial variable, it's going to be an object with the format instructions. And we're going to pass in the output parser dot get format instructions. Okay, so just so you know what that looks like, we're going to run all of this, and we'll get an answer. But I'm going to show you after we get that answer. So based on the given information, is an avid cat lover. So worst candidate, explanation. So it's interesting because it gave me text before, so we're going to have to guide it a little bit. But here we see. So this is the actual text that you get. Let me make this larger. I was a little late on that. Sorry about that, y'all. And this is the output. So it's going to go ahead and give an example of what the schema looks like, and then it's going to give the schema that we just defined: classification, title, class with description, all that good stuff. So we want to steer this a bit better. So let's go ahead and tell it here before we do, we need 2 new lines here. And then let's say after 1 new line, so only output, let's wrap this, output valid JSON, and nothing else. Let's go ahead and go run with that. Let's run that one more time. All right, so as you can see here in the content, we get the classification, where's classification. So what I can do now is we'll just go ahead and pull that out. So we need to store this in an output actually. And we'll run that one more time, and then we'll say output.content. All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and see here. So you see we already have this, so we're gonna parse this now. So we'll say output parser dot parse, and and then we're going to run that. And as you can see, it's a classification object, and I'm the worst candidate apparently. Based on giver is I have a cat parrot lover. He is not particularly keen on raising dogs. Okay, so great. This gives us a way to go ahead and integrate with an additional system. Okay, great. So we did this in Langchain. Let's see what it looks like in LlamaIndex. Where we at right now? We're at 13 minutes mark. So we took about 2 minutes of talking, about 11 minutes to do that. Now that I already have the baseline, it's probably going to be slightly skewed now, right? Llama, which is called this llama.py. And we installed LlamaIndex. So let's go ahead and pip install LlamaIndex LLMs. I think it's Bedrock. Okay, great. It looks like I guessed correctly. So I'm going to say from LlamaIndex.LLMs.bedrock. I believe it's Bedrock. And we're going to import Bedrock. Great. And we're going to want to import prompt template. So LlamaIndex.core.prompts. And we're going to import the prompt template from LlamaIndex. So we're going to go ahead and initialize the LLM Bedrock, and we'll say model. And I believe it's going to be the same thing as this one. We'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and go Anthropic here, and we're going to initialize that. So let's go ahead and run this and see what we get. See, I think I need to go ahead, go LLM, and LlamaIndex has a slightly different API. It allows us to do complete. What is pi? We'll run that one more time. And okay, great. So this is the actual interface. We're good to go here. So let's go ahead and implement the same prompt template. Where are we at right now on time? About 14 minutes in. So maybe that took about a minute to get that rolling. So we'll say prompt template equals prompt template. And I believe this is, we'll say template here. And let's use the same template. We'll go ahead and just straight up copy pasta here. Who doesn't like a little copy pasta? And we're gonna wrap this, make sure it looks nice and neat. And I think we can go ahead and do a similar thing with template variables. Although I'm not 100% sure. I think we're good actually without doing this. That was just an extra step in Langchain, which I'm not sure if you need to do or not. So we'll just go prompt template.format, and we'll do the same thing. So customer detail. Actually, let's go ahead and just copy and paste this. And so as you're seeing, this might be a slightly unfair comparison because we had to type these out along the way. Probably minus some time, but really I just want you to see the two different implementations of the same thing. So we're going to say customer detail equals customer detail. We're going to say business industry equals business industry, and then we're going to say classifications equals classifications. And let's go ahead and cast that to a string. All right, great. And so what we want to do now is we want to run llm.complete, and we want to run that on the prompt. Oops, we need to name it prompt. Great. Let's go ahead and run all of that. So we're missing the format instructions, and of course I straight up copy pasta, and we don't want to do that just yet. We want to run the initial test and see what it gives us. Let's go ahead and see here. 3.4 seconds. All right, and so when we get a completion response, so we're gonna have to do, if we get an output here, we're gonna have to do output.text. So let's go ahead and do that now. Print output.text, right? Because you can see here, it's gonna give us this text, and this is actually a Pydantic object in and of itself. So let's go ahead and print this out. Output's not defined, that's great. Let's go ahead and do this. All right, great. So based on the given information, and again, Haiku just keep telling me I'm the worst candidate, which makes sense, you know. I'm not really fond on raising dogs, so yeah, you wouldn't want to sell anything. You wouldn't sell dog toys to me because I might be kicking tires on your sales call. All right, great. So we went ahead and it gave us an explanation. Let's go ahead and get structured output now. So we're gonna say from LlamaIndex.core.output parsers, and we're gonna import the same thing, Pydantic output parser. It has a similar flavor. So instead of importing the Pydantic v1 from the actual library, LlamaIndex actually works with Pydantic v2, which is the latest version, which I love, by the way. So from Pydantic, we're going to import the base model, and then we're going to import the field, and we'll say class, let's go, wow, my brain just froze right here, classifications, and we're going to go ahead and do a base model here again, and we'll say classification. And this is, of course, again, going to be a string, and we're going to equal that to a field. Again, I'm just trying to type this so it's kind of fair. Description, oops. And we're going to say the classification of the customer based on given classifications. Now, this may not be completely fair because this can have an effect on the actual LLM, because the LLM actually sees this description, right? It's all raw text. So we're going to go ahead and do that too. And we'll say let's just go ahead and copy the same thing, explanation as a string, which we already knew that, but we'll go ahead and do just in case. Great. Now we have our Pydantic output parser. So let's go ahead and initialize that. So we'll say output parser. So this is going to be a bit different actually. So I'm going to say new line, and we're going to pass in the format instructions. And what I'm going to have to do here is I'm going to have to create my own. So I'm going to say format instructions equals, and above that what I'll do is I'll say format instructions, and we'll say output valid, or excuse me, output valid JSON based on the schema. And then I'll put in the schema here. So let's go ahead and make this an F string. So we'll go ahead and say classifications.model JSON schema. And this is going to do a similar thing as the other Pydantic output part, but I'm doing it manually. And then we'll put a new line here and we'll say only output valid JSON. Great. Okay, so now we want to pass in the format instructions here. Great. And let's go ahead and run it. And that was pretty quick. So there you go. And we got structured output here. And that is the time. So it's about 20 minutes, so about 7 minutes on this, about 11 minutes on the other one. But I had some copy paste here. So hopefully I gave you an idea of how you can do some type of end-to-end solution in both of these frameworks, Langchain and LlamaIndex. Now, of course, you want to add this into your automation somewhere, probably at the end of some particular form, just giving you some ideas in your thought process. But if you have any questions, or you think that there's a different way of implementing this, or you want to see how to actually put this into practice, just go ahead and leave me a comment and let me know. So without further ado, you already know what it is. It's your boy B-Phil. I'm out. Peace.